The job ended because I didn't go to a party. You chose not to be there." She said it like she was reading a line she'd practiced. Not angry, not loud, just firm enough to make sure I knew this wasn't a question. I looked around the room. No one met my eyes. "My name is Rowan Hale. I built the core system that kept this company alive for 10 years. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't have to. Everyone sitting there already knew." Maribel Kincaid straightened the folder in front of her until it lined up perfectly with the table edge. She still didn't look at me. Loyalty isn't optional here. My screen flickered. The terminal froze halfway through a command. The cursor blinked once, then disappeared. "This isn't about performance," she went on, calm, almost bored. "It's about respect." Someone shifted in their chair. Another person inhaled like they were about to speak, then stopped. I leaned back slightly. "So skipping a party ends 10 years of work." Maribel finally looked up. "I'm always number one," she said. Then, "Sharper people who ignore me don't work here." She slid the folder toward me. My badge was on top, already dead. I opened my laptop. Nothing responded. No warning, no countdown, just silence. Behind me, someone exhaled. Not sympathy, fear. Maribel stood. "Meeting over. Security will walk you out." No one objected. No one mentioned the systems I'd kept running through outages, breaches, and nights no one wanted to remember. That part of the story didn't fit anymore. I pushed my chair back. The room stayed quiet. Near the wall, someone whispered, barely audible, "Should we be worried?" No one answered. That's when it hit me, not anger, not panic. Something colder. This wasn't about punishment. It was about cutting access before someone noticed what actually mattered. I picked up the badge and the folder. My hands were steady. They were waiting for me to shake. "Pause here for a second. Be honest. If your job ended because you skipped a party, would you walk out quietly? Or would you start asking what they're really afraid of?" Before I reached the door, my phone buzzed. A system alert. License status pending review. I didn't open it. Quick note before we continue. This story is fictional, created for the Revenge AITA channel. Names and companies are imagined, but the power dynamics are very real. This is a story about what happens when silence is mistaken for obedience, and why some exits matter more than entrances. The hallway felt longer than it had that morning. Some people looked away too fast. Others watched like they were counting something. The elevator doors closed. I stepped forward, already knowing one thing for sure. Whatever happened next wouldn't be decided in that room. How do you fit 10 years into one cardboard box? The box was already on my chair when I got back to my desk. Someone had decided for me what was worth keeping. "You don't need to rush. Human resources." Standing a step behind, voice soft in a way that didn't invite conversation. Kind enough to sound humane. Distant enough to avoid responsibility. I picked up the frame diagram first. The original system map. Back when everything still fit on one page. A hand moved near the edge of my desk, then pulled back. "That diagram saved the West Coast rollout," someone said quietly, too quietly, like saying it louder might cost them something. I slid it into the box. My mind went to a different night. 3 minutes before markets opened. Payment gateway down, phones ringing. The emergency call that went silent once the fix worked. Later, a message had come through. "Nice catch. Drinks next time." No one mentioned nights like that now. A chair scraped behind me. Evan stood a few desks away, pretending to read something on his phone. We'd fixed more disasters together than I could remember. "They'll need you back," he said, still not looking up. "They always do." I dropped the badge into the box. It made a dull sound when it hit the bottom. "They already decided they won't." He nodded once. "That system." He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes flicked toward the glass offices, then back to the floor. Another voice chimed in, trying to sound neutral. "Access logs have already been reassigned." I looked up. Reassigned to who? No answer. Not because they didn't know, because they did. I packed the notebook I used for rollback steps, the emergency drive, the handwritten list of vendor keys no one else bothered to memorize. Each item felt heavier than it should have. Security's waiting, not a threat, just a reminder of time. I closed the box, lifted it. No one offered to help. As I turned, someone whispered just loud enough to be heard, "If she's gone, who handles the core?" No one replied. Footsteps moved closer. The question died where it stood. If the only person who knows how something works is walking out the door, that's not a termination, that's a risk. I walked past my desk without looking back. The silence followed me tight. Careful, like the room was holding its breath around a problem no one wanted to name yet. What's the one thing powerful people never bother to read twice? The addendum was exactly where it had always been, buried behind signatures and boilerplate no one cared about. I hadn't opened it in years. My name was still on every page. So was theirs. You really want this in writing? The memory came back sharp. Conference table, cold coffee. Everyone already tired of the conversation. It protects the work, I'd said, tapping the paragraph they kept skipping. Someone laughed. Not mean, just dismissive. You're being paranoid, another voice jumped in. Lighter, friendly, Rowan. No one's coming for your code. The document on my screen didn't react. It just waited. I scrolled. There it was. The clause I'd argued for when it would have been easier to let it go. Intellectual property carve-out. Conditional, narrow, uncomfortable. My phone buzzed. Still reading contracts at this hour. Marta, outside compliance. Quiet. Precise. Still practicing law like it mattered. I need a straight answer, I said. No hypotheticals. The call connected. No small talk. That clause paper moved on her end. It's still valid. It was never triggered. Correct. A pause. Longer this time. Until today. I leaned back. It only activates if termination happens without cause, she said. Performance-based exits don't qualify. This wasn't performance. I know. Her voice flattened. That's why I picked up. The screen felt too bright. Ownership doesn't transfer automatically, she added. It requires confirmation, intent. Whose intent? Yours, a beat, and theirs. I closed the file, not because I was done, because I didn't want anyone to see me reading it yet. Before the call ended, Marta said one more thing. They never removed that clause because they thought it couldn't hurt them. The line went dead. I stayed where I was, replaying every meeting where that paragraph had been waved off, joked about, deferred. No one wanted to talk about it, not because it didn't matter. The things people joke about are usually the ones they never plan for, because it did. What happens when a company mistakes access for ownership? Don't escalate. Marta said it the way she always did when she meant the opposite. Just check, she added. I said, I'm verifying dependencies. A breath on the line, not approval, not resistance, just permission to continue. I pulled up the system map from memory, not from their server. The core responded immediately. That mattered. The surrounding layers did too. No alerts, no warnings, nothing broken. Leadership won't notice this, Marta said. They never look past permissions. They think permissions are the system. They usually are, not this one. I opened the license registry. One entry lagged, not expired. Not failing, just waiting. Next to it, a note I'd written years ago. Do not auto-renew without confirmation. Was that intentional? Marta asked. It always was. Silence, not concern. Math. I'll prep the paperwork, she said. Transfer intent, contingent. Contingent on what? On you deciding to move forward. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The file opened. Names, dates. Language I'd insisted on when everyone else wanted it simpler. Ownership tied to authorship, not payroll. Termination without cause listed as the trigger. Narrow, exact. Signing won't change anything today, Marta said. Operations keep running. That's fine. A pause, then quieter, almost curious. They still think they're in control. I know, I signed. No flourish, no pause. Just enough pressure to make it official. Anything else? She asked. Yes. I scrolled once more, confirmed the dependency chain. Paper shifted. The core requires renewal approval from the owner. And right now, it's deferred. Until the owner confirms. The call ended cleanly. I closed the registry and left the system exactly as it was. No alerts, no emails, no warnings. Somewhere, people were still logging in, still deploying, still assuming the system would respond because it always had. Nothing breaks at first. That's how you know it's working. I let it keep listening, for now. What breaks first, the servers, or the people running them? My phone started vibrating before I finished my coffee. Not calls, messages. Then more. Deployment stalled on 3 teams. Rollback won't initiate. Anyone know why the core isn't acknowledging updates? I set the phone face down. It buzzed again immediately. An internal channel lit up on my tablet. Names I recognized, all talking at once. We didn't touch the core. That wasn't scheduled. Why is the approval flag missing? A calendar invite appeared without asking. Emergency sync. Then another. Then another. I didn't join. A direct message cut through the noise. Rowan, are you seeing this? I let it sit. The typing indicator blinked, stopped, started again. From another thread, a tone I knew too well sharpened. Why isn't this fixed yet? No one answered her directly. The questions kept coming instead, circling without landing. A longer message surfaced, forwarded by someone who shouldn't have sent it. She wants a patch now. Who can sign? Anyone. No reply. A meeting transcript leaked into the channel. Half sentences. Raised voices trimmed by auto capture. We can't deploy without then override it. There is no override. The word appeared next. Careful at first. License. Then again, clearer. License dependency. Ownership confirmation required. Someone typed, deleted, typed again. Who owns it now? The channel went quiet. Not empty. Held. My phone rang at last. I didn't answer. The voicemail came seconds later, tight and controlled. This is unacceptable. I need this resolved immediately. Another message followed, sent too fast to be considered. Whatever this is, it ends today. I unlocked the phone and read without responding. On my laptop, the system logs updated in real time. Each attempt recorded cleanly. No errors, no breaches, just refusals. Nothing had failed. When nothing breaks, panic has nowhere to hide. By mid-morning, the tone changed. Messages slowed, words softened. Names disappeared from threads they had dominated an hour earlier. I turned the tablet off. Outside their channels, the system waited, patient, exact, listening for a confirmation no one could give. And for the first time, they understood the difference between access and authority, not because anyone explained it, but because the machine refused to pretend anymore. How much power fits inside one sentence? I typed the message in under a second. No greeting, no context, no punctuation to soften it. You have 48 hours. I sent it and locked the screen. The reply came fast. No caps, but the anger was still there. This is not how you handle internal disputes. I didn't respond. Another message followed. Longer. Careful in the way people get when they're trying to sound reasonable too late. We can discuss reinstatement, compensation. The typing bubble appeared, vanished, came back. I expect a call. My phone rang. I let it ring. The voicemail came clipped and controlled, like a statement rehearsed in advance. You're making a mistake. An unfamiliar number lit up next, then another. The rhythm changed. Less authority, more urgency. Our counsel is reviewing the situation. Please confirm receipt. I confirmed nothing. By noon, the language shifted again. Titles disappeared. First names took their place. We need clarity. Can we align on next steps? A forwarded email chain landed in my inbox, sent by someone who thought I should see it. Names redacted, sentences broken off mid-thought. Exposure is growing. Client confidence is, do not admit Marta called without preamble. They've retained outside counsel. Good. They're asking for a meeting. After, a pause. Then, after what? After the clock runs. She didn't argue. She didn't reassure me either. She understood. Another message slipped through, this one unfiltered, from Maribel's direct line. This ends now. I set the phone down beside the laptop and opened the log viewer. Every request was there. Every denial clean, no spikes, no warnings, no escalation flags. The system wasn't fighting back. It wasn't punishing anyone. It was waiting. Deadlines don't threaten. They reveal who was never in control. An hour later, a calendar invite appeared, marked urgent. Attendees populated the list one by one. Subject line resolution, I declined. By mid-afternoon, hallway chatter leaked into my screen in fragments. They're counting hours. Legal says don't touch anything. Who authorized the freeze? No one answered. They didn't need to. The sentence had already done what explanations never could. What do powerful people do when rules stop working for them? The accusation came dressed as concern. Our records suggest unauthorized transfer of proprietary assets. It was sent from an address I recognized. Legal department. Proper signature block. No greeting, no details. Just enough to plant suspicion. A second email followed minutes later, copied wider. We are prepared to pursue remedies. I forwarded both to Marta without comment. They're calling it theft, she replied. That's the pivot. Another call came in. A partner I'd worked with for years. His voice dropped before the line even settled. They told us to pause discussions, he said. Said there's a dispute over ownership. With who, I asked. A pause. Then, they said you. I let the silence stretch. Not defensive, not rushed. By midday, the pressure changed shape. A reporter left a voicemail. Careful wording. Sharp edges underneath. We're hearing claims of internal sabotage. I deleted it. An analyst emailed next. No pretense this time. Can you confirm whether the core system is being held hostage? I didn't answer that either. They weren't looking for truth. They were looking for a reaction. That's when I opened the archive. Commit histories lined up exactly as they always had. Every change logged. Every approval stamped. Time zones. Authentication trails. The carve-out clause referenced where it should be. Cross-linked to board minutes they'd signed without reading. Marta joined the call while I worked. They're escalating fast, she said. They always do when they're losing. They want you to slip. I won't. A new file appeared in the shared folder. Cease and desist. Heavy language. Deadlines in bold. I added it to the stack. Do you want to respond? Marta asked. Not yet. Maribel's number lit up next. I watched it ring, then stop. I kept compiling screenshots. Access revocation logs. The exact second my credentials were cut. The timestamp matched their termination notice down to the second. By late afternoon, the noise peaked. Accusations louder, claims broader, confidence thinner. I encrypted the folder and closed the archive. Everything they would need to destroy their own story was already there. Clean, time-stamped, patient. They were lying to move faster. I was letting time do the opposite. How do you argue with records that never forgot the audit is complete? Marta said it the way people do when there's nothing left. Jitranki, Konghan, Kongcho Fanung. The file opened on my screen. No commentary, no summaries. Just rows, access logs, approval chains. Timestamps that lined up with calendars and badge scans. Right there was the moment my credentials disappeared. Down to the second, they cut access first, Marta said. Termination came after. No performance notice, no remediation window. I scrolled. Signatures appeared exactly where I remembered them. Maribel's. The board chair's initials. Each one tied to the clause they used to joke about and skip past. The carve-out is active, Marta said. Ownership has transferred. Nothing flashed. No alert sounded. No one congratulated anyone. At the bottom of the page, one line sat quietly. Owner of record, Rowan Hale. A new voice joined the call. No introduction beyond a name. We've reviewed the public filings. He spoke carefully, like someone used to conversations where every word costs money. Your system underpins transactions across multiple markets, he continued. Current valuation aligns with $918 million. I didn't react. Our interest depends on clarity, he said, which now appears resolved. Marta stayed silent, letting the gap do the work. We'd like to discuss licensing, he added. Exclusivity, if possible. Send terms, I said, no emphasis, no celebration. After the call ended, another notification came in. This one from an internal legal thread I'd been removed from days earlier. Subject ownership clarification. No accusations, no threats. Just a request for acknowledgement. They can't undo it, Marta said. I know. They'll try to shrink it. They always do. More documents populated the folder. Patent confirmations. Registry updates. Each one quietly closing a door they hadn't realized was open. By the time the light shifted behind my screen, the number didn't feel abstract anymore. $918 million wasn't leverage, it was consequence. I closed the laptop. No messages followed, no voices asked for explanations. The records had said everything that needed saying. There was nothing left for anyone to argue. What does authority look like when it has to ask permission? The meeting invite came without instructions, no subject line, no expectations spelled out. Just a time, a list of names, and a dial-in code I hadn't been given before. Marta joined first. Two unfamiliar voices followed, careful, legal trained. Maribel connected last. a fraction of a second late, long enough to notice. We appreciate you taking this call. The line sounded practiced, courteous, empty of leverage. A document appeared on the shared screen, not mine, theirs. Highlighted sections, marked pages. No one rushed to explain what they already knew. Our review confirms the activation sequence. One of the attorneys said, termination without cause occurred prior to access revocation. No one interrupted. That sequence, another voice added, triggered the carve-out. Maribel spoke then, controlled, tight. Those approvals were procedural. They were binding, came the response. Your signature appears on each. The page zoomed in. Her name sat there, clean, centered, undeniable. We're prepared to discuss reinstatement, she said quickly. A revised role, expanded authority. I let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. No, nothing else followed it. A pause, then another attempt. We can make this right. It already is. Marta slid a new document into view. Transfer confirmation, registry update, effective immediately. The system now operates independently, she said. Any future use requires licensing. A throat cleared somewhere off screen. We're authorized to negotiate terms. Send them in writing. Maribel inhaled sharply. This time, she didn't hide it. You're walking away from everything you built. I leaned forward just enough to be visible. I'm walking away with it. No one pushed back. There was nothing left to argue. The call ended the way power always does when it's finished talking quietly. Lines dropped one by one. Maribel disconnected last. I closed the laptop and sat with the stillness that followed. No victory speech, no applause, no need to explain. Power hadn't been taken. It had simply stopped answering to them. What's left when power can't threaten you anymore? The audit is closed. Marta's voice sounded different this time. Not cautious. Finished. The report sat open between us. Clean pages, exact language. Every decision traced back to a timestamp no one could argue with. The moment my access disappeared, the approvals that followed, the order mattered. It always had. They're calling it a leadership failure, she said. No announcement, quiet exit. I nodded once. Maribel Kincaid's name appeared near the end, one line beneath it. Position vacated, effective immediately. Nothing moved in me, no relief, no satisfaction, just the absence of noise. The last document waited on the screen. Transfer of ownership. Permanent, irrevocable. Once you sign, Marta said. There's no undo, I know. The pen felt heavier than it should have. Not because of the number people had attached to the system. Not because of the offers already circling it. It was heavy because the signature closed a door I had spent 10 years walking through, believing it led somewhere permanent. I signed. No one reacted. No one needed to. As Marta gathered her files, my phone rang. A recruiter, polite, optimistic. There are opportunities, he said, boards, advisory roles. I'm done, I said, calm, final. The line went quiet, then disconnected. Later, when the office had emptied itself of urgency, I shut down the last terminal still tied to the company. No ceremony, no pause, just the way you turn off something that no longer belongs to you. I didn't leave with a box this time. I left without being followed. This is the lesson I carry forward. The only one that held silence isn't surrender. Waiting isn't weakness. And people who try to control you by proximity only reveal they never owned what mattered. I didn't win by taking anything from them. I won by choosing what they could never take again. Speaking 7 languages means nothing in the age of AI. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Adrian Cole said it the way people say things when they're already done talking, calm, polished, confident it would land because it had been cleared somewhere above both of us. I didn't answer right away. The room filled the gap for me. A chair scraped. Someone coughed. The badge reader on the wall chirped once the sound it makes when a decision is already logged into the system. So, I said, folding my hands on the table, slow enough to be deliberate. This isn't a conversation. Adrian finally looked up. The smile stayed professional. Empty. We're streamlining, he said. Automating. The board wants speed, consistency. A small shrug. Rehearsed. HR will shut off your access by end of day. 17 years disappeared into one paragraph. No review, no transition. No interest in what actually happened between the company and the clients who trusted us with entire regions. My name is Maribel Cross. I said not for him, but for the room. Director of Global Client Relations. Then, quieter, effective immediately. He nodded, fast, relieved, like someone who didn't want follow-up questions. I stood. The folder stayed where it was, untouched. But a yellow sticky note peeked out from under his cuff, half hidden, easy to miss. I slid it free, picked up the pen, and wrote 2 words. Good luck. I placed it back where he couldn't avoid seeing it. I didn't wait for his reaction. The badge reader flashed red before I reached the door. If you've ever been told your experience doesn't matter anymore, keep listening. This isn't about AI. It's about what companies forget when they replace people too quickly. This story is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revenge AITA. Names, companies, and events are imagined, but the power dynamics, the silence, and the consequences are very real for people who've lived through being quietly erased. The hallway didn't follow me out. That part mattered. What mattered was the calm that settled once the door closed behind me. The kind of calm you feel when there are no more options left to negotiate. My phone buzzed once in my hand. A calendar alert I hadn't declined yet. Monday morning, international client, AI rollout. I dismissed it without opening the details and kept walking. Something essential had just been removed, and the system they left behind was going to feel it long before I ever did. The sentence stayed with me longer than the meeting, not Adrian's, mine. Director of Global Client Relations. Titles only work when someone understands what's inside them. I thought about a call that never showed up in any report. Please don't start with the numbers, the client said, calm, controlled. The line went quiet. I didn't rush to fill it. I lowered my voice, matched his pace, let the pause sit long enough to matter. Another moment came back, unfinished. That greeting, no. Stop. A hand lifted on a video call. The draft email slid back across the screen. They'll hear disrespect before they hear intent. I hadn't translated a single word. I'd adjusted the temperature. There was the message from São Paulo. Late, all caps. Panic leaking through every line. A shipment stuck. Tempers rising on both sides. I listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't correct. When the anger ran out, I spoke once. Slow. Plain. We can fix this. Not clever. Just careful. The deal held. Once, a junior partner laughed it off. You're just good with languages. The laugh stopped when the client replied with one sentence and ended the call. I wrote the follow-up by hand. Respectful. Precise. Acknowledging a hierarchy no onboarding guide ever explained. The contract arrived the next week. No negotiation, no applause, no credit, just continuity. My phone buzzed. Maya's name appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. They're asking for you, no subject line, no explanation. Urgency always shows up before it admits what it needs. Another memory surfaced, sharper this time. Don't use his first name, I'd said once. Gently. Not yet. That single correction saved a relationship that was already cracking. I typed my reply with the same discipline I'd used everywhere else. I'm not available. The dots appeared, vanished. What the company had called language support had never been about words. It was about timing, restraint, knowing when silence does more work than speech. I hadn't protected vocabulary. I'd protected the space between people. And now that space was empty, waiting to be filled by something that didn't know when to stop talking. This is the part AI doesn't learn because no one thinks to log it. I didn't call anyone. That mattered. A former director texted, heard what happened, nothing after that. No question, no follow-up. I left it unread longer than necessary. Silence has a way of sorting people out. There was nothing to clean up, nothing to hide, no files copied, no passwords tested. Everything stayed exactly where it had always been. Clean hands make clean consequences. Late Saturday night. My phone chimed. A calendar alert I hadn't declined yet. Automated subject line. Monday AI rollout Helio Mart Group. The system still thought I belonged to it. I opened the invite. Adrian's name sat at the top. Host privileges intact. A polished agenda followed efficiency, scalability, optimization. No mention of relationship owners. No contingency. No human fallback. Maya's message came in. Cautious. Did you get that invite too? I did. A pause. Are you going to say something? I watched the dots appear, disappear, appear again. The question wasn't curiosity. It was relief. Maybe hope. No, I typed. They made their choice. That was the boundary. Simple, final. No drama required. Sunday evening, another message arrived. Unknown number. Hi Maribel, this is Ops. Quick check, are you aligned with Monday's plan? Aligned. The word sounded practiced. Passed around, approved somewhere. I typed, deleted, typed again. Sent the line I'd already decided on. I'm not available. The reply came almost immediately. Understood. No follow-up. No escalation. Systems don't argue, they route. I set the phone down and didn't pick it up again. The work I used to do depended on anticipation, reading the room before anyone admitted there was one. This time, I did the opposite. I waited. By the time Monday arrived, the system would notice the absence it had labeled replaceable, and it would do what systems always do when the person who carried the silence stopped speaking. It would reveal who had actually been listening. This is where most people panic. She didn't. My phone buzzed once, then again. Then it stopped. Maya's name came up, followed by a single line. They're here, I didn't ask who. The calendar alert from the weekend already answered that. Another message came in. Longer this time. They're seated. They haven't opened the deck. I pictured it without trying. People in chairs, screens ready. No one moving forward because something essential hadn't arrived. A third message followed. They asked a question, nothing else for almost a full minute. Then, where is Maribel Cross? I set the phone down, picked it up again when it vibrated immediately. They won't start, Maya wrote. Adrian tried to pivot, talked about automation. They listened. Then they asked again. Another pause. The AI demo is running. I could hear it in my head. The confident tone, the smooth phrases about scale and efficiency. The kind of certainty that fills space when understanding isn't there. Maya again. Shorter now. They're not engaging. Cameras are off. A new number cut in. Unknown. Corporate. Hi Maribel. We need you to come in. Just for today. No greeting, no explanation. Just need... I typed slowly. Not because I was unsure. Because the wording mattered. I'm unavailable. The reply came back almost instantly. This is important. Important had been used too many times to mean anything anymore. Another message followed. Routed through Maya. Softer. Careful. They said they won't continue without you. I didn't respond. Minutes later, the final update arrived. Flat. Almost stunned. They stood up, said they would be in touch. They left the room. I placed the phone face down. Not angry, not satisfied. Just done. Somewhere, a meeting ended without ever starting. A system reached for the person it had erased and found only the space she used to occupy. The pressure didn't announce itself. It didn't need to. It had already started working. This is the moment they realized automation didn't replace trust. The message didn't come as a text. It came as a forwarded document. That alone told me it mattered. Maya didn't explain. She didn't soften it. Just the file. And one line under it. They asked for this to be read out loud. The letter was short. We will only continue discussions if Maribel Cross is involved. No extra words. No bargaining language. Not a threat. A condition. Another message followed, copied to more people than necessary. Revenue exposure is immediate. Gavin's wording. Numbers didn't scare him. Gaps did. A screenshot came in before I could reply. Internal chat. Names cropped. We can't let a single employee dictate terms. Not an employee anymore. Then we move on. They sounded confident. They weren't calm. A private number rang. I let it go. It rang again, then stopped. Voicemail. Adrian's voice filled the room. Controlled at first, thinner by the end. This isn't ideal, but it's manageable. They'll adjust. He didn't believe that. He just needed it to be true. Maya again. No punctuation this time. He's asking for forecasts. A pause. He wants alternatives. I typed, deleted, let the screen go blank. The condition had already done its job. It moved the center. The company was no longer the constant. It was the variable. An internal memo slipped into my inbox by mistake. Recalled seconds later, I opened it anyway. Client insists on personal continuity. Interim pause recommended. Interim. As if trust could be parked. The last update came after a longer stretch of silence. They froze the next phase. Maya wrote, Legal wants to know if you'll reconsider. I closed the file and set the phone down. The first consequence didn't arrive with panic. It arrived with math. A decision made somewhere else had started keeping its own record line by line without waiting for approval. This is when they realized the client didn't fire her. They did. The call came right after lunch. No greeting, no easing into it. The same voice that had let me go now sounded thinner, stretched tight by urgency. "We need to stabilize this," he said. "Just for today." I didn't answer. He kept going. "The client is overreacting. We can fix the optics." Optics. That word had always meant pretending. "There's compensation," he added quickly. "Consulting rates. Whatever makes this smooth." Smooth for who? "I was clear on Friday," I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. "You were confident then." A pause. "Not regret. Math. Don't take this personally." He said it the way people do when they know they are. "You're good at what you do," he continued. "But we've moved on. This would just be temporary. Temporary help. Permanent removal. You said I was replaceable." I replied, same word, no emphasis. Silence. Then, quieter. "That was about efficiency, not you." The sentence didn't survive contact with itself. "I'm not coming in," I said. "Not today, not later." His breath sharpened. "You're putting the company at risk. I don't work for the company." That changed everything. The voice hardened, then softened, testing angles. "We can put something in writing. Short term, discreet." Discreet meant quiet. Quiet meant erased again. "I don't fix systems that remove people and call it progress," I said. "You chose automation over understanding. That's not fair." "I'm using your logic," I replied. "You trusted it enough to end my role." The line went still. When he spoke again, the confidence was gone. "So this is your answer?" "Yes." The call ended. No threats, no apology, just a click. I set the phone down and didn't touch it again. Whatever happened next would happen without me, and without the option to undo it. This wasn't revenge. This was refusal. Nothing exploded. That's what made it worse. An inbox that used to turn over in minutes went quiet. Threads sat there, untouched. The last message in each one hung like someone holding their breath too long. Then the pauses started. Legal asking for extensions. Operations asking for clarification that never came. A forwarded email dropped into my inbox with no comment. Client request pause pending review. Under it, another line. Careful, defensive. Scope to be determined. Gavin came next. No greeting, just numbers. "We're tracking exposure," he wrote. "Initial estimate 7 figures over the next 2 quarters if this continues." 7 figures. It mattered because Gavin didn't dramatize. If he wrote it, it was real. A screenshot followed. A meeting I wasn't invited to. A pie chart. Half the circle grayed out. In the margin, someone had typed relationship continuity risk below it. Trying to sound neutral, we assumed the transition would be seamless. Someone else replied, "Seamless for whom?" By mid-afternoon, the language shifted. Less confidence, more hedging. "We may have underestimated. We didn't anticipate this response." The client's position appears personal, personal. Like trust was a preference instead of a foundation. Then the call came. A number I recognized, even though it had never been on my phone before. Maribel. "This is Ruth Calder. Board chair, no build-up. We're reviewing decisions made last week," she said. "Your name keeps coming up." I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. "There are questions," she continued. "About process and about impact." "I don't work there," I said. "I know," she replied. "That's why I'm calling." The pause that followed wasn't awkward. It was intentional. "We'd like to hear what you were responsible for," she added. "In your own words, not an invitation back, not a rescue, a clarification." "I can make time," I said. "Not a promise, a boundary." "Tomorrow morning," she replied. "We'll listen." The call ended. Clean, no reassurance, no pressure, somewhere. Spreadsheets were failing to explain what had gone missing. And the silence they had dismissed as replaceable was finally being treated like data. This is the moment numbers stop arguing and start asking questions. No one asked me to sign in as staff. The badge they handed me said, "Visitor." Different color, on purpose. No one pointed me to either side of the table. I picked a chair that didn't belong to anyone. Ruth Calder opened a folder. No introduction, no small talk. "We'll start with client statements." She read the first one exactly as it was written. "Our confidence was built on continuity." That continuity no longer exists. Paper stopped moving, pens went still. The second statement was shorter. We do not object to innovation, we object to being misunderstood. Adrian leaned forward, quick to fill the space. With respect, some of these partners resist modernization. They're uncomfortable with change. Ruth didn't look at him. They signed with us for outcomes, not aesthetics. Gavin slid a page down the table. These pauses project losses in the low 8 figures over the next year if unresolved. No one challenged the number. Adrian tried again, tighter this time. We can retrain the system, adjust prompts, bring in consultants. That option was reviewed, Ruth said. After the relationships were damaged, then she looked at him, briefly. You removed the one role clients identified as essential. I removed redundancy, Adrian said. The word landed badly. Even he seemed to hear it. When I spoke, it was because I was asked. I handled continuity across markets, I said. Not messaging, not automation, tone, timing, when to pause. That was all. No one asked me to elaborate. Ruth closed the folder. Effective immediately. International strategy and all client-facing automation will require board approval. She turned slightly. Adrian, you'll step back from both. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. This isn't punitive, she added. It's corrective. No vote, no debate, no raised voices. Authority didn't change hands. It was taken off the table. The meeting ended without ceremony. No one asked me to stay. No one needed to. The decisions had already been made. This is what power sounds like when it doesn't need to argue. I stood, returned the visitor badge, and walked out. Leadership hadn't been reassigned. It had been restricted. And everyone in that room understood the difference. Winning didn't look like going back. It looked like an email with no logo and no apology. We're ready to proceed, it said, directly. One attachment, clear scope. No corporate language trying to sound warm. I read it once, then again. Not to negotiate, just to be sure there was no trap. I signed. The call came a few minutes later. Maribel, Mr. Tanaka said. No small talk. Our board approved the transition. We want continuity, with you. Then that's what you'll get, I said. No pitch, no promises, just agreement. By Friday, 2 more confirmations came in. Different companies, same structure, clean contracts. Independent, no exclusivity, no middle layer pretending to add value. The work moved with me, not around me. Late that night, Maya messaged. They updated the org chart. Adrian's still CEO, but he can't touch international or automation. I pictured the title staying exactly where it was, while the authority quietly drained out of it. Another message came in, a number I knew well. I didn't open it. Not because it hurt, because it didn't matter. No one asked me to reconcile. I didn't offer. The silence stayed intact. Legal sent a final notice the next morning, polite, procedural. It confirmed the end of exclusive control over client relationships tied to my former role. I forwarded it to my records, not as a win, as a line drawn. The work settled into a new rhythm. Calls came in. Pauses landed where they were supposed to. Decisions slowed just enough to be correct again. The company stayed where it was, learning late what happens when you treat trust like infrastructure instead of people. Sometimes the win isn't going back. It's making sure no one can erase you again. I didn't return, and that was the point. What's left after a decision you can't undo? The update didn't come as news. It came as a calendar invite. Governance review, attendance required. Ruth's voice followed in a short message. Calm, direct. You should be aware of the outcomes. The meeting itself took less than 15 minutes. International operations will report directly to the board, she said, reading from a page she didn't bother looking at. Client-facing automation is suspended pending independent review. Someone shifted in their chair. Papers slid, and executive compensation. She continued. Same tone. Will be adjusted under the performance clauses. Adrian spoke once. Adjusted how Gavin answered without emotion. Bonuses tied to international growth are revoked for the fiscal year. That was it. No debate, no outrage. Just math catching up with decisions. When the call ended, my phone stayed quiet. No follow-ups, no damage control. Authority had moved not loudly, not publicly, but permanently. Work went on the way it always had for me. One call at a time. Mr. Tanaka rang first. We're aligned on next steps, he said. No rush. Precision matters. It always has, I replied. Another client joined. Then another. Same pauses, same respect. I didn't reintroduce myself. I didn't need a new title. Late afternoon. Maya sent a message. They took the AI roadmap down from the portal. I replied with one word. Noted. I passed Adrian once in a hallway I no longer belonged to. He looked smaller without the right to decide. The yellow sticky note was still on his monitor. Edges curled. Good luck. I didn't say it out loud. It wasn't mine to give. Here's the part no one teaches you. When a system removes people and calls it progress, it doesn't become stronger, it becomes fragile. And when you walk away instead of begging to return, you don't lose leverage. You define where it lives. I didn't win by staying. I won by making sure I was never replaceable again. Cancel her bonus. Today. My name shouldn't have been in that call. I wasn't on the invite. I wasn't copied. But the line was open just long enough for me to hear the part they didn't plan on anyone catching. 48 hours early. Someone added, low and careful. I don't want it to transfer. I froze. Headset still on. Eyes on the screen in front of me. The integration dashboard was halfway through a live sync with our buyer's system. Green checks across the board. Clean, stable. Exactly how they wanted it. The door opened without a knock. Evan Cross didn't bother closing it behind him. He dropped a single page onto my desk and tapped the top margin like he was pointing out a typo. Effective immediately. I looked at the date first, then the time, then his face. We've used you long enough. No pause, no explanation. He turned, already walking away. Like the rest had been handled somewhere else. My screen blinked. Connection lost. The buyer's feed went dark. Error messages stacked faster than I could read them. I reached for the keyboard out of instinct and watched my cursor freeze. Access denied. Email locked. Internal chat gone. Outside the glass, HR stood with security. Too close, like they'd been waiting. Zara, one of them started, voice tight, rehearsed. If you'll just, I'm in the middle of something. No one moved, no one cared. The headset crackled once, then went dead. Whoever was on the other end never got an explanation. Neither did I. I stood up slowly, more to buy time than anything else. My badge didn't work when I tried to leave my office. A red light flashed, quick and final, behind me. Evan was already on his phone again, pacing, talking low. I caught one word as I walked past. The finance. That was when it landed, not the firing, the timing. They weren't just getting rid of me. They were racing something. The story you're about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revenge AITA. It is inspired by real workplace power struggles, where timing matters more than titles, and silence can be louder than threats. They escorted me out without letting me grab more than my coat. My laptop stayed behind. So did the work I'd been protecting. No one asked what I was running. No one asked what would break if I stopped. They already knew. And whatever they thought they were preventing by canceling that bonus, they were terrified it might move without them. I didn't bother unpacking when I got home. I set my bag down, opened my laptop, and pulled up the contract I hadn't looked at in years. Not the HR version, the real one. My phone buzzed. A message from Mira, one of the analysts I trained last year. They shut everything down fast. Like, scary fast, I typed back. I saw. The document loaded. Same dry language, same signatures. I scrolled past the parts everyone memorizes and landed on the part everyone ignores. Annual performance bonus, $51,000. Right under it. A paragraph that looked harmless if you didn't know what you were reading. Renewal trigger. I slowed down. The bonus wasn't just money. It was a condition, a confirmation point. Once it transferred, licensing authority renewed automatically under one name. Mine. My throat tightened. I remembered Martin Hale saying, years ago, almost offhand, "This clause isn't for you today. It's for when someone panics later." I'd nodded like I understood. I hadn't. I checked the timestamp on the cancellation request. 48 hours before the transfer. Down to the minute. That wasn't coincidence. That was intent. Evan didn't fire me because I was expendable. He fired me because he was afraid of what would move once that bonus cleared. If you've ever been cut off fast too fast, you know that feeling. When it's not about performance, it's about timing. And suddenly you're asking yourself why they needed you gone now. Another buzz. Different number. Missed call. I ignored it and opened my archived emails. One search term. Transfer. There it was. The notice. Already generated. Already scheduled. All they'd done was try to outrun it. I closed the laptop and sat there for a moment, letting the anger settle into something steadier, whatever they thought they were stopping. They were terrified it wouldn't wait for their permission. The first call with the buyer had been 8 months ago. I remembered because Evan showed up late and still managed to talk over everyone. "We're aligned," he'd said, leaning back like the hard part was done. "Our teams are ready to move fast." No one on their side responded to him. Every question came to me instead. How does the failover behave under simultaneous load? What happens if the encryption keys rotate mid-transaction? Who signs off on emergency patches? I answered each one without looking at Evan. I didn't need to. He wasn't listening anyway. After the call ended, he'd clapped once and smiled. Great energy. Let's keep that momentum. That was always his role. Mine was the substance. I opened the merger agreement on my laptop now, scrolling past the executive summaries and glossy language meant for investors. I went straight to the operational sections. The parts lawyers argue over when things go wrong. Key personnel continuity. I stopped. There it was. A list, short, specific. My name sat at the top, below it. Language that made my stomach tighten. If any listed individual ceased employment before integration milestones were met, the buyer retained full rights to delay, renegotiate, or exit without penalty. No drama, no threats, just leverage, spelled out cleanly. My phone lit up with a message from Aaron, one of the engineers who'd been pulled into the merger late. "They're saying you won't be on the next call." Who's answering the technical side? Now I didn't respond. Evan had never asked why those questions always came to me. He'd never asked why the buyer's legal team waited for my confirmation before signing anything that mattered. He'd just assumed the deal was his. You ever notice how some people think the spotlight holds things together? Meanwhile, the real weight is being carried by someone whose name never makes the slide deck. I scrolled back up and read my name again, slowly, like it might disappear if I looked away. This wasn't about loyalty, or appreciation, or even money. Without me, the buyer didn't have to move forward at all. They could stop, sit, watch, and walk away clean. I closed the document and let that sink in. Evan hadn't just fired an employee. He'd removed the one name that kept the deal from pausing the second anyone got nervous. Did the CEO even know whose name was holding the deal together? I didn't call anyone. That surprised Mira the most. She texted twice. Then again, "Do you want me to loop legal, Zara? They're telling people you resigned." I let the messages sit. Instead, I opened the secure folder I'd kept separate from company systems since year 3. Licensing records, custody logs, every renewal, every authorization, every signature that mattered. My name appeared where it was supposed to, dates lined up, access intact. A calm settled in, not relief, control. Later that afternoon, my phone rang again. Unknown number. "Zara, this is Brent from IT. We need you to return any company storage devices." I already did. A pause. Papers shuffling. All of them. Yes, another pause. Longer this time. "Okay," he said. "Unsure. We'll mark it complete." I had left one thing behind on purpose. A small encrypted drive I'd kept in my desk drawer for years. It looked important. It wasn't empty shell. No keys, no access. Just enough to make someone feel safe. That was the point. I opened my calendar, cleared. No calls, no meetings, no quick sync. I added one item and one item only. Review. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail this time. Evan's voice, clipped. "Legal needs to know where the certificate is stored." I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, another message came through from Aaron. "They're asking if you backed anything up locally." I typed back one word, "No." And then I shut the laptop. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Silence isn't doing nothing. Silence is letting people show you exactly what they assume when you stop correcting them. By evening, the questions got sloppier, less confident, people guessing instead of checking. I watched it happen without stepping in. No more explaining. No more fixing what wasn't my job anymore. They thought I was gone, out of the picture, no leverage left. That's when people stop being careful. That's when they start making mistakes. What happens when they think you're gone but you're not powerless? My phone rang just after 9. Unknown number. Seattle area code. I let it ring twice before answering. "Zara Hale." The voice was calm, Practiced. The kind that doesn't waste words. This is Lillian Moore, Senior Counsel for North Point Dynamics. Do you have a few minutes, North Point? The buyer. I do. A brief pause, like she was checking something off. We're reviewing our integration dependencies. There's one point we need clarity on. I waited. Who currently holds active licensing authority for the core encryption module. No small talk. No build-up. Straight to it. The authority renews upon transfer of the annual performance bonus, I replied. That transfer hasn't occurred. Silence on the line, not confusion, calculation. So as of now, the authority has not renewed under Greyline systems. Another pause. Longer this time. And who holds it if renewal does not complete me? I could hear her breathing change. Papers shifting. Someone else in the room, maybe muted. I'm not alleging a breach, I added. I'm just answering your question. That won't be necessary, she said quickly. You've been very clear. She didn't ask why I'd been terminated. Didn't ask how this happened. She didn't need to. Thank you for your time, Ms. Hale. That answers it. The call ended. I stared at the phone for a second after the screen went dark. No threats, no warnings, no raised voices. Just information moving from one place to another. That's it. No arguing, no speeches. Just one question landing in the wrong place. If you've ever watched a room go quiet after the right detail comes out, you know what that pause meant. My phone buzzed again almost immediately. This time, an internal number I recognized but didn't answer. Then another, and another. I set the phone face down on the table. Whatever Lillian Moore had just confirmed, it wasn't something they could ignore. Not if they cared about timelines. Not if they cared about risk. I hadn't warned anyone. I hadn't accused anyone. I just told the truth, exactly once. What did they just realize that the CEO missed the phone rang hard enough to rattle the table? I didn't rush it. I didn't need to. When I answered, the sound hit first. Breathing, fast, uneven. What the hell did you say to them? I waited for the rest. It came out in fragments. They're asking questions they shouldn't be asking. Legal is on my back. The board wants answers. I kept my voice flat. I answered a question. You sabotaged the deal. I pictured him pacing, phone pressed too tight against his ear. I told them to read the contract. Silence. Not the calm kind. The kind where someone realizes the floor moved. They're acting like we don't have authority, he snapped. Like the certificate isn't valid. Is it paper shuffled on his end? A chair scraped. Someone whispered in the background and got cut off. We can't find it, he admitted. It says it's not in the vault. That vault isn't mine, I said. You signed off on that. Another pause, longer. He tried a different tone. Come back. Today. We'll fix this. Title, compensation, whatever you want. I let that hang. Then, I'm not coming back. You don't understand what's at stake. I do, I said. That's why I'm not coming back. His voice dropped. If this falls apart, it's on you. No, I replied. It's on the decision to fire me before the transfer. I could hear it then, the shift, not anger anymore. Fear. You can hear it when power changes hands. It's not loud. It's that moment someone stops yelling and starts calculating how much time they have left. He tried once more. Just tell me where it is. That would require me to work there. The line went dead. I set the phone down and didn't move for a while. No victory rush, no relief. Just the certainty that whatever control he thought he had was already gone. If the deal is already unraveling, can anything stop it now? The email landed just after lunch. Subject line: formal verification request. North Point's legal team wasn't asking anymore. They wanted documentation, proof of active licensing authority. A response window measured in hours, not days. My phone started lighting up right after first, a voicemail from someone in compliance I barely knew, then a missed call from finance, then a text from Mira. They're saying legal never signed off on your termination. That one made me stop. Another call came through. This time I answered. Zara, it's Alan Price. A familiar voice, one of the board members who rarely spoke unless something had already gone wrong. We need to understand the sequence of events. You fired me before the transfer, I said. Without legal review. A breath on the other end. Slow. Controlled. That's what we're discovering. He didn't apologize. He didn't defend Evan either. There are questions about process. He continued. An exposure. I'm not part of the company, I said. I can't help you answer those. I know, he replied. A pause. If we'd known sooner, you did know, I said. You just didn't look. Silence, then, quieter. Understood. The call ended without a goodbye. An alert popped up on my screen. An analyst note making the rounds: contractual uncertainty may impact near-term outlook. That phrase spread fast, faster than explanations ever do. This is the part where it gets lonely at the top. When boards stop asking who's right and start asking who's safest to lose. Another message came in from Aaron. Evan's not on the emergency call. They locked it. I didn't respond. By late afternoon, the noise shifted. Fewer accusations, more distance. People choosing their words carefully, like the ground might give way if they didn't. Evan had gone from certainty to containment in a single day. The board wasn't circling him to help. They were circling to decide. Who do institutions sacrifice when survival is on the line? The notice came through as a forwarded email, no preface, no warning. Northpoint Dynamics is terminating the proposed acquisition effective immediately. I read it once, then again. The reason followed in plain language. No legal fog, no soft phrasing. Unresolved licensing authority. That was it. 8 months of calls, demos, and late nights reduced to 4 words. My phone buzzed almost right away. Mira again. They just pulled it, fully pulled it. Another message followed before I could respond. Evan's in a closed room with the board. No one's letting him out. A third. From someone in PR I barely recognized. If reporters call you, please don't comment. I didn't plan to. The news hit public feeds within the hour. Headlines stacked fast, each one sharper than the last. Deal collapses amid internal control concerns. Executive missteps raise governance questions. They didn't mention my name. They didn't have to. A clip from a financial segment started circulating. The anchor read directly from the filing. The acquiring company cited unresolved licensing authority and internal decision-making failures. Failures, plural. My phone rang again. I let it go to voicemail. Evan's voice came through, tight and hoarse. We can still fix this. Call me. I deleted it without replying. This is the moment people think should feel loud. Instead, it's quiet. Because when things fall apart for real, there's nothing left to argue about. I sat there and watched the updates roll in. Stock dip. Analyst downgrade. A board statement promising a review. No fireworks, no shouting, just decisions locking into place. The merger wasn't paused. It wasn't delayed. It was gone. And Evan Cross wasn't being defended anymore. Silence followed him like a shadow. The same silence he'd relied on when he thought no one would question the timing. What happens to a leader when silence becomes evidence? The call came the next morning. Same area code, different tone. Zara Hale, the voice said, steady and direct. This is Lillian Moore from Northpoint. I'm calling to follow up. I didn't pretend not to know why. Our board met late last night, she continued. We're no longer pursuing the acquisition, but the underlying need hasn't changed. I waited. We want to work with you directly. There it was. No apology, no corporate fluff. Under what structure, I asked. A standalone agreement, she said. Your firm, your authority, full operational control, and the licensing contingent on full transfer confirmation, she replied without hesitation. We won't proceed otherwise. I pulled up the dashboard I'd been watching for days. The transfer was still pending, hours left, not complete. Then we wait. I said, no pushback, just a clean response. That's acceptable. She sent the draft over while we were still on the call. No clause about rehiring, no language about restoration, no mention of gray line at all. This isn't about what happened there, she added, almost carefully. It's about not repeating it. I scanned the document once. Then again, everything I'd asked for was there. Everything I hadn't was gone. I'll respond after the transfer executes, I said. We'll be ready, she replied. The line went quiet. Some offers sound like second chances. This one wasn't. It didn't ask her to go back. It asked her to move forward with the door closed behind her. The confirmation alert came through just before noon. Transfer complete, authority reassigned. I forwarded the notice to my attorney. Then I opened the contract again and signed. No celebration, no victory speech, just a choice made cleanly. I didn't need my old title back. I didn't need the office. I didn't need Evan's acknowledgement. What if winning means never returning? The notification didn't make a sound. No alert, no banner. Just a single line updating itself on the screen. Licensing authority reassigned. My name sat there alone. No asterisks, no shared access. Final. I checked the time. It had executed exactly when it was supposed to. Automatic, clean. No one to interrupt it now. My phone rang a few minutes later. This time, I answered. Zara, Alan Price said, voice careful. The board voted this morning. I didn't ask what they voted on. He told me anyway. Evan has been removed from strategic authority, effective immediately, no anger in his voice. No relief either, just procedure catching up to consequence. I'm not calling to ask you back, he added. That window closed, I know, I said. We're issuing a statement later today. Internal failure. Process review. I won't be commenting. That's understood. The call ended there. No apologies. No attempts to soften it. Notice what didn't happen. No victory lap. No public fight. Sometimes the loudest ending is when no one has anything left to argue about. I didn't post anything. I didn't return Evan's last message. I didn't forward screenshots or correct the narrative. The system already had. He'd tried to save $51,000. That was the number he fixated on. The line item he thought mattered. That choice cost him a $500 million deal. It cost him authority. It cost him the future he kept claiming as his own. I closed the laptop and sat there for a moment, letting the quiet stay quiet. I hadn't destroyed anything. I hadn't chased revenge. I'd just stopped stepping in to protect people who were rushing to cut me out. That was enough. When someone moves fast to erase you, don't rush to explain. Step back. Look at what they're trying to stop from moving. Sometimes the most powerful response is letting the system they trusted turn on their choice.